I know it's hard to believe, but summer is winding down. And of course, on a travel show, winter and spring are only a flight away. It might be time to refresh your wardrobe with new items for the season ahead or the season you're traveling to. Quince nails it with luxury essentials that feel effortless and look polished, perfect for layering and mixing. Their styles are versatile, you're going to be reaching for them again and again. Think chic cashmere and cotton sweaters starting from just $40, washable silk tops, and classic denim pants. You've heard me rave about my travel pants, and I'm still traveling with them. And now I have two pairs. The best part, everything at Quince is half the cost of similar brands by working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middleman. Quince gives you luxury without the markup. Elevate your fall wardrobe essentials with Quince. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Buying a car in Carvana was so easy. I was able to finance it through them.
Whoa, wait, you mean finance?
Yeah, finance. Got pre-qualified for a Carvana auto loan, entered my terms, and shot from thousands of great car options all within my budget.
That's cool, but financing through Carvana was so easy.
Financed. Done. And I get to pick up my car from their Carvana vending machine tomorrow.
Financed.
Right, that's what I said.
You can spend time trying to pronounce financing, or you can actually finance and buy your car today on
Carvana.
Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
Amateur Traveler, episode 958. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about a record-breaking capital, ancient Silk Road cities, Bronze Age ruins, divine horses, a burning desert crater, and the Grand Canyon of Central Asia, as we go back to Turkmenistan. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about Turkmenistan. I would like to welcome to the show Abdylla Geldiev from undiscoveredfrontiers.com, which is a tour operator, and Abdylla is the managing director. Abdylla, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for inviting us. It's great to be here. Thank you.
And Abdylla has come to talk to us about Turkmenistan. So Turkmenistan, we're talking about one of those countries in the stands in Central Asia. Why should someone go to Turkmenistan?
That's a very good question, Chris. And I think Turkmenistan is a destination for curious, for seasoned travelers who think they have seen it all. But Turkmenistan still offers surprises, puzzles, and stories. Turkmenistan remains one of the last frontiers of the beaten path travel and a country of surreal landscapes, ancient Silk Road cities, and striking modern contrasts. It's one of the less visited places on planet. We all know that Turkmenistan is very hard to access, and that makes Turkmenistan unique in its own way. Turkmenistan offers a very bizarre capital known as Ashgabat, a city obsessed with the Guinness Records. And everybody thinks that why is there an obsession on the Guinness Records? I can give a couple of examples on the Guinness Records. They have the largest eight-pointed star on the TV tower. They have the largest indoor Ferris wheel. Turkmenistan offers the largest handmade carpet, more than 3,000 square feet. Can you imagine that carpet in your house? Or a world's largest Akhal-Teke horse head sculpture. Whether you are a history buff or enthusiast, whether you are exploring the handicraft traditions, whether you are looking into the bird watching, whether you are into the equestrian adventures, Turkmenistan is the destination that every explorer or globetrotter can find and discover.
Excellent. And what itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
Today, I am going to offer an itinerary of 7-8 days, which will be 3 days, 3 nights in a capital of Turkmenistan, Ashgabat, 2 nights in the eastern part of Turkmenistan known as Mari region, and 2 nights we will spend in the northern part of Turkmenistan known as Dashaguz region, making it 7 nights and departure on the eighth day. Before I jump into the itinerary, I think it's important to mention that Turkmenistan consists of 5 regions or
Hmm.
provinces, and every region of Turkmenistan is unique. By describing this 7 days itinerary, I'm going to also suggest a day trips or extensions that can be done from those regions, and which region can be replaced as an alternative option in case you are not into the UNESCO sites. If you want to explore like a Yangykala Canyon, it's you suddenly the landscape it's like on a Mars, so it's quite impressive. If we start with the itinerary, I would recommend for any American or North American traveler who is planning to travel to Turkmenistan to fly to arrive to Turkmenistan on Sunday. So that gives a very practical moment because when you arrive on Sunday, you can start exploring the Sunday market known as Tolkuchka. From the Russian word, it means talkats, or Russian verb talkats, to push. You start from the Oriental Bazaar Sunday market, and you will be seeing that amazing, a melting pot of local people coming from different parts of the country selling their merchandise, the animal stock. You will see the real Oriental Bazaar bubbling live. It's important to do the Oriental market in the first part of the day before the temperatures get very hot. Turkmenistan is known for the extreme continental climate, the dry, hot summers and the dry, cold winters. So once exploring the market, it's not a bad idea to explore the carpet museum. Turkmenistan is known for cultural identities like Turkmen carpet, like Akhal-Teke horses. So there is a big respect for the handicraft in the Turkmen culture. And the National Carpet Museum displays an amazing collection of the hand woven burgundy colored carpets known to the world. Those carpets were a merchandise that traveled through the Great Silk Road, and the tradesmen brought those carpets and introduced to Europe. Once completing the carpet museum, it's not a bad idea if you can spend some time at the Fine Arts Museum of Ashgabat. You can see a very nice examples of the Soviet era painting school, as well as the Dutch painters and other known European painting schools that are displayed at that gallery. You can end your day by a lovely evening and peaceful sightseeing of Ashgabat. Ashgabat, the capital of Turkmenistan, is an amazing town that displays a very futuristic architecture. Can you imagine Las Vegas with the grandeur of the Soviet futurism? So it's quite impressive. And that's the day, spending the night in Ashgabat.
Before you get to the second day,
Yeah,
you mentioned something that I wanted to ask a little more about. You mentioned the hot summers and the cold winters.
exactly.
When do you recommend we do this trip? What time of year works best?
That's a lovely question. I would recommend to explore Turkmenistan March, April, and by the end of May at the latest. June,
Okay.
July, August. Avoid traveling to Turkmenistan. Extreme hot temperatures. The temperature can rise up to 120 Fahrenheit. So it's not a joke. It's, yeah. And the fall is the ideal time to travel. September, October until mid November is an ideal temperature to travel to Turkmenistan.
Okay.
Now, day two, Ashgabat, there is a very unique site in the foothills of the Kopet Dağ Mountains because you need to visualize the capital of Turkmenistan, Ashgabat, looking to the lovely mountain known as Kopet Dağ. That mountain range actually borders with Iran. And I think it's important to mention that Turkmenistan borders with Uzbekistan in the northeast, in the
Hmm.
northwest borders with Kazakhstan, in the south borders with Iran, southeast is Afghanistan, and the western part of Turkmenistan is the Caspian Sea. So in the foothills of capital of Turkmenistan, Ashgabat, there is a unique UNESCO site known as Nisa. And that site is one of the rarest example in the archaeology and history that belongs to the period of the Parthians. Whether it was a residence, whether it was a religious complex, it's still debated and disputed among the scholars of the world.
When you say the Parthians, we're talking about the same time frame as ancient Rome. So we're contemporaries to the Romans here, so 2,000 years ago.
The Parthian reign actually is dated from 3rd century BC to the 3rd century AD. So roughly
Yeah.
that's the time frame, 6 centuries of time. But you are right, Parthians historically known that they fought against the Romans. And one of the highlight of the battle that happened on the modern territory of Turkey, known as Karay battle or Kara battle, that happens between Romans and the Parthians. And the famous Parthians show their archery and horse riding skills. Those are the nomads that could turn and shoot their bow and pierce their opponent from their shooting skills. Now, in site Nisa is a very dramatic site. When you show up to that site, you feel that there is just the ruins, but you are having that privilege to touch every wall, to see everything. There is no limits to the access to the site. One of the rarest excavated artifacts that were excavated on the Parthian site Nisa are the rhythons or rhythons. Those rhythons are a vessel made of ivory with very precise Hellenistic features on it. So those rhythons are also on display in the museum in the Ashgabat.
And these are drinking horns, is what you're talking about.
That's a good point. Yes, historians have a theory or hypothesis saying that those rhythons were used for some sort of religious ceremonies. They say that they used some sort of an opioid drink known as homa saoma, which was poured into that vessel, and the priests who practiced the religion, and it's hard to say whether it was a mix of Zoroastrian and the Hellenistic culture. So they drank that mixture and they fall into the trance. So yes, you are right. It was used for drinking. Correct. Now,
interesting. And the other thing you bring up, Zoroastrianism, which is associated with Persia. And then you had pointed out the Parthians come up in the 3rd century BC, which is correct. I had them just a little later, but they're really almost the reestablishment of some of Persia after Alexander the Great defeats Persia in the 3rd century BC. So yeah, that makes sense that there would be some mixture of that culture then in here. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Now, after the Nisa, there is a great opportunity to explore. It's maybe 25 or 30 miles out of Ashgabat. There is a settlement known as Göktepe. Göktepe is a very tragic historical settlement that reminds the historical invasion, because the Central Asia was invaded by the Tsar, by the Russian Tsar in the 19th century, beginning of the 19th, end of the 18th century. So that fortress was invaded by the Russians when they advanced their territories, and it was the part of the Great Game. The English crown was invading their lands and approaching from Afghanistan, Pakistan towards the India, and the Russians, the Tsar was expanding their territories. So that is the part, and this is the last frontier from the history known that did not surrender to the Russian Tsar, created a problem. So the Russian Tsar sends his famous general known as Skobelev, described in the history as a white general with the white uniform sitting on a white horse, comes to Turkmenistan, to that fortress occupied by the Turkomans, the local tribes, invades the fortress in 1881, and that's the history where the Turkmenistan was invaded and falls under the control of the Russian Tsar.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, that part close to Ashgabat has a fabulous opportunity to explore the divine Akhal-Teke horses. Turkmen culture is known historically for breeding a unique breed known as Akhal-Teke horse. So there are horse farms or the stud farms that can be visited, and you can have a beautiful display of those creatures, divine horses with the wings, known from the historical chronicles and records that were used and transferred on the Silk Road and were used as a trade, as a good, and even given as a present to the Chinese emperors. The value of the Akhal-Teke horse is important to mention. Now, we can end the day by visiting the National Museum of History and Ethnography, located in Ashgabat. Museum houses almost 330,000 artifacts excavated from different parts of Turkmenistan, from UNESCO sites and other important archaeological excavations on the territory of Turkmenistan.
For instance, you mentioned the things that were excavated at Old Nisa. I'm going to find them here, I assume.
Yes, absolutely
Okay.
right. Yes, Chris. That's the place where they are displayed. Now, these are the 2 days that we can spend in Ashgabat, but I will quickly cover a couple of extension trips or
Okay.
alternatives that could be done from Ashgabat. Not far from Ashgabat, the capital of Turkmenistan, there is a very unique place known as Seyyid Cemalettin Mosque. It's actually ruins because that mosque was in a better shape and the mosque dated as a 15th century. That mosque was ruined by the devastating earthquake that happened in capital of Turkmenistan. And that earthquake happens in 1948, according to the historical records. The population of the capital of Turkmenistan was 230,000 people, and it's recorded that almost 150,000 people die in one night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of the scariest and tragic moments in the history of modern era that we know. The Sayyid Jamaluddin Mosque, you can observe the ruins of that mosque, but the unique part of the mosque that the original mosque that was standing before the earthquake depicted and displayed the motifs and the shapes of the dragons. That is something very unique that we do not come across too much in the Islamic architecture because
No.
and as Islam is against of presenting the animal shapes on the religious buildings. So
Right.
there are lots of legends and stories about those dragons. The actual dragons, which were on the display at the entrance portal of the mosque, can be seen at the Art Museum of Ashgabat. So archaeologists managed to collect the pieces of that mosaic, and it's amazing. It's stunning. Those colors of the blue and turquoise tiles, they blow your mind and your imagination.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Abercrombie Kids is bringing the ultimate first day energy back to school. It all starts with on-trend outfits for that front door photo shoot. Plus, the coolest tees, shorts, and jeans to take them through the rest of the year. Get them ready for their close-up and keep them comfy too. Make this grade their best one yet. Shop all things back to school, in-store, online, and in the app.
Also, from that location, when you will be standing on the mound of the mosque, you will look again to that horizon. You will see the foothills of the mountains in Ashgabat, and that area is known for the first early agriculture settlement. In the year 1903 or 1904, a famous American geologist known as Raphael Pampelli comes and excavates that foothills of the mountains, and he finds and excavates the first seeds of wheat. This is an
Mm.
amazing discovery, and it mentions that the people started cultivation of the wheat during the Bronze Age. And that is something unique. Raphael Pampelli's findings are actually supported the theory that civilization in Central Asia predates the civilization of Mesopotamia. It's a big dispute among the historians. There is a lovely, interesting wheat museum, and that's very interesting that the museum is stopped with a structure that resembles the structure of the wheat. So
Okay.
you can stop at that museum, see those early examples of the wheat seeds that were excavated by Raphael Pampelli. Now, another important side trip that I would like to also quickly mention is maybe 120, 130 miles away from Ashgabat. There is a place known as Kowata Underground Lake. And that lake is a very unique, it's a grot, a cave, and you go inside
Hmm.
the cave and there is a sulfur lake that has a distinctive egg smell.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but the locals believe that the water has some strong healing properties, and it's a very good place to experience the locals, to see how the locals spend their leisure time by swimming in this natural grot with the lake. From there, you can travel to the very unique settlement located in the mountains known as Nohur village. The village is known by very unique traditions because the people who live in that village, they sincerely believe that they are the descendants of Alexander the Great. And the people in the village have distinctive, some of them have blue color eyes, green
Hmm.
eyes, the curly hairs. So they think that the troops of the Alexander the Great, when Alexander the Great was on the way to India, he marched through those territories and there was some sort of the assimilation. The village offers a very unique cultural identities. There is one
Mm.
cemetery, and I've seen the world. I did not see such cemetery in different parts of the world. Every single cemetery is topped with the horns of the goat. So
Okay.
yeah, it's quite an amazing to see every
Hmm.
single tombstone topped with the horns of the goat. And there is a legend that the helmet of Alexander the Great had two horns on his helmet. So that there is lots of this beliefs, superstitious living in that part of the village. It's important to mention about the people living in that village.
Hmm.
They are very unique population, a small ethnical tribe that lives in Turkmenistan, very kind, very hospitable people, and they offer a very unique glimpse into their daily life. Those people are known for the cultivation of fruits, vegetables. People are known for the handicrafts, weaving the silk cloth, and many other handicraft skills. Visiting that village is a unique and rare opportunity to intermingle with the local tribe that lives in Turkmenistan. Now we come back to Ashgabat, so that those are the extensions that I could offer.
Yep.
Now we would travel to eastern part of Turkmenistan. The most practical way to save time is to use the Turkmen Airlines and fly from the capital of Ashgabat to the capital of the Mari region known as Mari City. So that is a relatively short flight. It's only 40, 45 minutes. And it's important to mention that Turkmenistan Airlines is very advanced and it uses the modern Boeing fleet of the
Okay.
aircraft. So it's very safe, very secure flight. You are in the Mari region, and the day in the Mari region, eastern part of Turkmenistan, you start your journey, your adventure by diving into the very unique and rare Karakum Desert. Karakum Desert, if you translate it from the Turkmen language, it means black sands. So you drive 70 kilometers north into the desert, and then you dive into the desert for the next 25, 30 miles to reach one of the unique archaeological excavation and place known as Konye-Urgench. That site is dated to the 23rd millennium BC, and it was discovered and excavated by a very famous archaeologist of that time known as Victor Sarianidi. What makes this site unique is it was a sophisticated culture that was lost in the history. And the archaeologist Victor Sarianidi excavates very unique Bronze period settlement. People were using the temples. People had an organized way of life. That culture can be compared to the culture of the Mesopotamia. Also, there is a debate among the historians that Konye-Urgench, an archaeological site, is a proto-Zoroastrian settlement. So they
Hmm.
believe that it was the pre-start of the Zoroastrian religion, how the people practice their rituals, beliefs. There is a very unique burial cemetery that is excavated, and you, as a visitor, can see all those like you are sitting in the first row. You see everything, every single burial, every single cemetery. You see the kings buried with their servants.
Hmm.
You see the animals sacrificed. You see the pottery. Everything is so organized and so distinctive. That is indeed a fascinating archaeological site that is not visited by the Western traveler. And I think it is the place that every Western traveler should explore and visit. Now, upon completion of that journey, you will be back to the Mari city, and that journey actually takes almost a full day. So by 4 or 5 o'clock, usually, you will be back to the hotel, and it gives you some leisure time, your free time in the city of Mari. Very nice, charming town in the eastern part of Turkmenistan. You can go in the street, communicate with the locals, and that's a great opportunity to spend the day. The second day in Mari region is a highlight of traveling to Turkmenistan. It is visiting the archaeological and historical site inscribed on the World Heritage List of UNESCO known as Ancient Merv. One of the unique things about ancient Merv is to mention because in its heyday in the medieval, before it was destroyed by Genghis Khan, that city, that settlement was one of the densely and highly populated cities like Baghdad and Damascus. So the city itself at the moment spans several cities with different periods. As archaeologists call ancient Merv, that archaeological site, as a wandering city.
Sure.
And the reason is that because that city was not constructed on the top of each other on the
Hmm.
different periods. So every ruler, every king who comes to his reign period erected or constructed a new city. The visit to the archaeological site, ancient Merv, has to be in a precise chronological order. You would start with the first early settlements known as Erk and Yangykala. Those two settlements are excavated by the historians, and they belong to the period of the Achaemenians, the famous king Darius, the famous king Cyrus. So those are the early settlements of the Persians.
Yeah,
And
so you're 7th century BC. You're 2,700 years old.
bullseye. You are right, Chris. So this is the early settlement excavated on the territory of ancient Merv, and Gawur from Arabic language is translated like city of infidels or city of pagans. And that name was given by the Arabs because the Arab invasion comes from Iran. The first
Yeah.
caliphate invades the territory of the Central Asia. And when they see different religions, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism practiced on the ancient Merv, they say, oh my God, city of infidels, Gawur, city of pagans, because all those religions existed. All those
Hmm.
religions existed on the territory of ancient Merv, and you can see that resemblance, that connection, even in the architecture. You see the signs of Zoroastric symbols, you see the Buddhistic symbols in the architecture. There is a unique mihrab on the ancient, and mihrab is a direction to Kaaba where the Muslims direct and do their daily prayers. That mihrab features the shape of the lotus flower. So the symbol of Buddhism was inserted
Huh.
and intermingled with Islamic architecture, and that culture is live and could be seen on the territory of Merv. Now, Merv is an enormous site. I can talk about the Merv hours, but I would like to summarize it. From that early settlement, you move to the medieval settlement known as Sultan Kala. Sultan Kala is a place that was constructed and founded during the reign of the known dynasty known as Seljuks. You know, the
Oh,
Seljuks,
sure.
yeah,
Seljuk Turks.
yeah,
Yeah.
Seljuk Turks known to the world, consisting of two brothers. One brother stays and reigns the territory of the ancient Merv. The second brother goes to Baghdad and establishes the Seljuk dynasty there. So
Hmm.
Sultan Kala is one settlement, and the latest post-medieval settlement, and I want to make a joke, it's known as Abdylla Khan Kala, named after me. Just kidding. No. So so it's realistically named as Abdylla Khan Kala. It's a post-medieval structure. Now, a couple of important historical moments needed to mention that ancient Merv is a gigantic site, and it's
Hmm.
only 30% of the site was excavated until now. So it's like a Klondike. It's 70% of the Merv is untouched. So there are lots that can be excavated. It's a very historically dense site that is located on the territory of Turkmenistan and is a must place to be visited if you are traveling to Turkmenistan. Now, once you complete the sightseeing on the territory of ancient Merv, I think it's nice to fill your day with the visit of the Museum of City of Mari, because that museum
Okay.
displays those major artifacts, archaeological artifacts, which were excavated on the Gongurtepe, the Bronze period side that we
Okay.
traveled, and also it displays the artifacts from ancient Merv. Seeing those archaeological artifacts will make your understanding about the history much stronger and precise.
Okay.
Now, we would return back to Turkmenistan again by taking a short flight from Mari back to Ashgabat. Now, I think it's time to mention that our journey continues to the northern part of Turkmenistan, to the region known as Dash Oguz, located in the northern part of Turkmenistan. From Ashgabat, you will take another short flight to Dashaguz region. Once you land at the Dashaguz airport, you will travel about 80 or 90 miles to the very famous site known as Konye-Urgench. Konye-Urgench is another historical site, UNESCO site that belongs to the Khwarezmian dynasty, a power that existed right after the reign of the Seljuks.
Okay. Them, I don't know. You've stumped me here first.
Yeah, I love history and I get very excited when I describe the dynasties. So now, Konye-Urgench is a UNESCO site, and I think if you are into the history, this is a unique site in terms of the Islamic architecture, because you will see a very rare examples of brickwork that was practiced and used during that time. There are distinctive monuments that are still alive and standing through the centuries on the territory of Konye-Urgench. Konye-Urgench means old Urgench. So during the heyday, that town was part of the Silk Road. And the Silk Road really indeed passed through that town. And there is a mighty Amudarya river known as Oxus to the Western world. The Amudarya River eventually, naturally, moves its direction. So there were times when that part of Konye-Urgench was abandoned by the people. But the biggest influence of decline was during the reign of the Timur-Lame. As the Timur-Lame invades that part, and the dream of Timur was to make his capital Samarkand. So he destroys the Konye-Urgench and slaves the best craftsmen and architects of the period and takes them to Samarkand to construct his city of dream.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
Now, you will see unique architectural monuments located on this site. I'm not going to mention all of them, but I would like to specifically mention one known as Kutlu Timur Minaret. So, one of the tallest medieval / post-medieval monument. Based on the excavations, it's believed that the minaret was started in the medieval, then it stopped, then they finished it in the post-medieval. And it's amazing how it survived. And it's a huge minaret, like 63 meters high. It's quite unusual, quite a long structure.
And it's interesting. I think one of the reasons it's still standing, for people who are not looking at a picture of it, is it tapers from a very wide base and gets narrower and narrower. So it would have more support than a lot of structures that were built at the time.
Indeed, and I'm glad that you emphasized that part. The minaret itself at that time functioned as a guide for the caravan, so they could see that minaret in a long distance. The minaret can be seen in a day trip. So what is a day trip for the caravan? It's a good question. So usually the caravans that traveled on the trade route or a silk route, they should pass, let's say, 35 to 40 kilometers on a daily basis. So that would be 21, 23 miles daily. So in a daily distance, that minaret could be seen. So now, very unique thing to mention that many people do not know when they visit the archaeological site known as a Konye-Urgench. There is a very distinctive Sufi site located not far from site itself, and it's missed by the travelers. Everybody visits the major site and they do not see that particular place. It's known as Nijmeddin Kubra Mausoleum. It is stunning in terms of the architecture and in terms of the spiritual aspect of people living in the area. That mausoleum belonged to representative of the Sufi clan that lived on the territory of the Konye-Urgench, and that person witnessed the invasion of the Genghis Khan. So, according to the historical records, it's believed that religious leader was killed by the Mongol hordes, and his followers, his students, they were all had their heads chopped off and they were killed by the Mongols. So it's a very important religious, a Sufi shrine. And it's interesting that people from other stands would also travel to Turkmenistan and visit that shrine. So I highly recommend not to miss that unique opportunity.
One curious thing that I saw in a description of him is he's described as, obviously as the founder of one of the Sufi orders, as you mentioned, but also painter, physician, chess master, and general. Talking about a person with a wide variety of interests.
Yes, it's a very good point, Chris, because in its heyday, the cities like ancient Merv and especially Konye-Urgench, it's known that they had one of the largest libraries of that period. So the scholars of the world, I'm going to just name two of them, the Al-Khwarizmi or Ibn Sina, known to the Western world as Avicenna, the founder of the medical tractates. All those people traveled through the region of Khorasan, of Bukhara, or Samarkand, or Nishapur in Iran. Those were the centers of the science and the knowledge. The famous astronomers, they all studied and lived in the cities like Konye-Urgench and ancient Merv. So it's very important to mention. And as you rightly pointed on, those Sufi leaders, they had lots of talent. So it's not a surprise having an access to that huge library and not being able to play a good round of chess. So, I would like to mention that one site in Turkmenistan became very distinctive, and a highlight is known as Darvaza gas crater. Everybody thinks and believes that it's a must visit site. Unfortunately, I need to mention that this site is losing its authenticity because nowadays there are lots of yurts, lodging options are constructed around it. Let's say 5 or 7 years ago, it was only travelers would go there, they put their own tents. It was a serene, quiet night. You would gaze the stars and enjoy the beauty of the fire crater. But now it's getting a little bit tricky because it's becoming some sort of a place that everybody wants
Instagrammable spot.
Yes, that's the best way to describe it. So on the way from Dashagus, you can start your drive. Our second day, we spend the night in Dashagus, come back from Konye-Urgench, spend the night in Dashagus. Next morning, we start our journey from Dashagus to drive back to south. And because the Darvaza crater is sandwiched between north and south, so you're traveling downwards, you stop at the Darvaza gas crater, see the crater. It's unique. It's unique. There is no doubt about it. The National Geographic's made its documentary about a fire crater in 2013, and the guy whose name is George Coronis goes into the crater. He does something out of the world. He goes into it. He collects the samples. It was one of the unique documentaries, and I think that series by National Geographic's is known as Die Trying. It's a scary name. So Die Trying is the name of that episode, visiting Turkmenistan and the gas crater. I was lucky enough to be and see all that documentary expedition provided and arranged in Turkmenistan. So it was quite a unique experience.
And for those who don't know what we're talking about, we've talked about it on the show before, but basically this is a gas field that was ignited in 1971, not with the intention of still being burning here in 2025, but they were trying to burn off some poisonous gas, and it is still burning.
Yeah,
that was not how they intended to use the natural gas from this gas field. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you. I'm very impressed. The details that you know, not many people.
I can Google with the best of them.
Now, we spend the night at the fire crater. We continue next morning to the capital of Ashgabat. But here I would like to mention two settlements on the way to Ashgabat, usually skipped by the international travelers. There are two very unique settlements. One is known as Yerbent, and the second one is known as Bakurdak. And you will say, Abdylla, how do you pronounce all these words? So those are distinctive settlements because those settlements are ideal opportunity. It's like a time capsule to see how the people survive the harsh climate of the Karakum Desert. There are still some very authentic yurts. People use those yurts. You can see people are breeding the camels. They use the camels in their daily life. They milk the camel, make the fermented milk. They trim the wool of the camel and they view the socks. So there are lots of very identical cultural things that could be seen by making the stops at those authentic villages on the way to Ashgabat. Now, this is how we complete the itinerary, but I would like to quickly mention two regions of Turkmenistan that are overlooked and not explored by visitors traveling to Turkmenistan. And I think they are very important. One region is known as Lebap region, and Lebap region is the region that's beyond the region of Mari. So once you travel to Mari, you can travel further to the east and see that very unique region that shows and displays a unique features of Turkmenistan. Now, Lebap region is known for Köyten Nature Reserve, and what makes that nature reserve unique is the plateau with the footprints of the dinosaurs. So many people do not know, and the enthusiasts from all over the world, they like, this is mind-blowing. The footprints are believed to be 150 million years old. So you can see a plateau and you can trace almost 400 footprints of the dinosaurs. It's like a mind-blowing site to explore, and it's located in the eastern part of Turkmenistan in the region of Lebap region. That region is also known to other very unique places. There is a biosphere, a nature reserve known as Repetek. There is a very unique medieval caravanserai located in that region. So very distinctive, very authentic, very off the beaten path sites can be explored in the Lebap region. One other region that I also love very much is the region known as Balkan region. That's the region, it's a hidden gem on the western part of Turkmenistan. And the capital town of that region is known as Turkmenbashi, or in the Soviet time, it was known as Krasnovodsk, translated from the Russian language, the red water, because the city was founded in the 1869 as a Russian military outpost. When the Russian Tsar sends his first ships and they come to the shores of the Caspian Sea, they see that reddish color on the shore and they name it Krasnovodsk, red water shores. So a very unique place because that's the part of history where the famous Trans-Caspian Railway begins. That is a huge power and advancement that was created in the period. The Trans-Caspian Railway stretched 1,000 miles through the desert and goes all the way to Uzbekistan. So it is a very strategical railway that exists on the territory of Central Asia. So when that part was invaded by the Russians, and a very unique thing when you are in Turkmenbashi, you can see that train station that is a unique example of the Trans-Caspian Railway. Also, it's important to mention is the Japanese POWs that were used on the territory of that region right after the World War II. The Japanese were slaved and used in the very harsh
Oh,
climate.
POWs. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So those are the highlights of that region. And there is one unique site, one last site that I would like to quickly mention is Yangykala Canyon. Is a canyon that is a very unique and should be explored by the international travelers. It's not far from Turkmenbashi to go and to test and experience that natural scenery.
And that has the look of the American Southwest. We're talking about mesas and multicolor orange and white and yellow and green different strata, just like the Grand Canyon that I just got out of last week. So
yeah, and they call it the Grand Canyon of Central Asia. So it's indeed a mind-blowing place. Yeah, so
excellent.
It was a gallop.
Before we get to our wrap-up questions, anything else we need to know about the logistics of traveling to Turkmenistan?
I think it's important to use the services of the tour operator that is very familiar with the region, because there is so much to see and you don't have much time. So your trip has to be well planned, and it's good to have a good local guide with you who can bring all the sites alive, who can introduce you to the Turkmenistan hospitality and the unique Turkmen people living in Turkmenistan.
Excellent. As we get to our wrap-up questions, you're standing in the prettiest spot in Turkmenistan. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
The prettiest spot in Turkmenistan, I would say, is standing on the top of Ergala on the ancient Merv and have that panoramic view and try to bring alive how it looked like in the medieval.
I was going to ask you a special question, which you may have just answered also, is for you as an obviously history buff, the most interesting historic site of all the different ones that you've mentioned?
I sincerely think that every site is unique and none should be missed. But I personally believe that Gongurdepe, the Bronze period site dedicated and excavated for the Bronze period, I think that is one of the mind-blowing sites because
which I think is the oldest site you mentioned.
That's precisely correct. Yes.
Yeah.
23rd century BC, one of the oldest excavated sites. And the artifacts excavated on that archaeological site, they are out of the world how advanced that society was at that time.
Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in Turkmenistan.
Only in Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is a destination for explorers, the people who wants to find the most unusual sights, experiences.
Okay, but one thing that makes you laugh about Turkmenistan. You don't live in Turkmenistan all the time. When you go there, there's, oh my gosh, I'm in Turkmenistan again.
I think one thing unique about Turkmenistan is that when you are in Turkmenistan and you meet the local people, most of the people are multilingual. So most of the people can speak several languages. So it's funny to see how people speak native Turkmen language. They switch to the Russian, back to the Turkmen, back to the English. So it's, whoa, hold on. What language are you following? So that's a bit funny sometimes, right?
Excellent. And if you had to summarize the country in just 3 words, what 3 words would you use?
Unique, off the beaten path.
Okay, I think that may be more than one word, but we'll give you that.
Outstanding.
Excellent.
Yes.
Our guest again has been Abdylla Gildiev. And his website again, if you're interested in learning more about the tours from Undiscovered Frontiers, that's undiscoveredfrontiers.com. Abdylla, thank you so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for Turkmenistan.
Chris, it was such a great pleasure, and I sincerely say thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
On top of building this fake volcano for months, I give my daughter Smarty Pants vitamins to support her brain health. So her science fair project sounds more like and less like. And while I may say it's not a competition, of course it's a f***ing competition. Choose Smarty Pants vitamins to support your kid's brain health and save the science fair. Shop on Amazon, smartypantsvitamins.com, or at Target today.
Are you ready to dairy-free your mind? This summer, melt away your dairy-free expectations with So Delicious dairy-free frozen desserts. Enjoy mind-blowing flavors like salted caramel cluster, chocolate cookies and cream, cookie dough, and more. For over 35 years, So Delicious has been cranking up the flavor with show-stopping products that are 100% dairy-free, certified vegan by Vegan Action, and are so unbelievably creamy, your taste buds will do a double take. Dairy-free your mind. Visit SoDeliciousDairyFree.com.
Thanks, as always, to the patrons of the show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. I enjoyed our monthly Zoom call, which we had last Saturday morning here Pacific time. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show or just what it entails, go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. So we talked about Turkmenistan today. If you want to join me in Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, remember that the next Amateur Traveler trip is going to those two countries. You can learn more about what that entails by going to amateurtraveler.com/trips, which is a private Facebook group, or just drop me an email and I'll send you the details if you are not on Facebook or just don't want to be bothered. New on the Amateur Traveler since the last time we did an episode, there's been a number of different posts that have come out, including a post about visiting the tomb of the unknown soldier at Arlington, one by me on the Rainbow Mountains and the Silk Road in Gansu, China, that goes with that episode that we did recently on the Silk Road in China. Also 3 days in Beijing, Ancient Wonders, Modern Marvels by me again from that trip. One from regular contributor Barry Kramer about the Petrified Forest National Park and Meteor Crater in Arizona, and then another post by me on a local winery in Gilroy, Calaraine Wines. If you're interested in those, go to amateurtraveler.com. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.
I got to see one more cathedral. I got to sit in one more cafe. I know that I should be heading home, but maybe not today.
Talk about stepping up! Bang! Bang!
It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.